Welcome to the Cozy Convos podcast. I am your host, Elijah, and today I am super excited, you guys, to be back for another juicy little episode. Today we are tackling a very, very huge misconception. We're going to be diving into how vulnerability is actually your superpower. Now, I'm not going to waste any time, you guys. Let's go ahead and dive into it because I got some things to say.
Let's have a conversation and make it cozy. Let's dive into the unknown so we can continue growing. It won't always feel so comfortable letting go of limited beliefs, but we know we have big dreams and goals, so we're committed even when truth gets heavy. Let's have a conversation and make it cozy. Let's address the hard things and still make it feel so cozy. Let's embrace our flaws so we can feel even more cozy. This safe space won't make you feel anything other than cozy.
Vulnerability is your superpower. It's something that I feel like we do not hear often. And going on this journey of independence, I've been able to kind of see things from a different perspective. I've been able to identify the flip side of things that I feel like a lot of people miss. Our definition of strength has to change. When we think of the term strength, what normally comes to mind? Fighting. Maybe we think strength is we need to dominate someone. And sometimes we are put in situations where we need to show that side of us, where we need to show that strength. But keeping up that wall 24/7 of defense, it's not as necessary as we think to navigate this world. Most of us have unknowingly embodied the mindset that my strength comes from overpowering people, my strength comes from winning fights. When we think about the word strength in the eyes of today's society, we come across a plethora of different examples. Oftentimes they include some sort of violence or some sort of conflict, friction. But what if I told you strength is a little bit more peaceful? What if I told you strength may be a little bit more quiet? I noticed in my own life, witnessing past relationships play out, I was always submissive in a sense. I was this people pleaser. I wanted everybody to like me. I wanted everybody to take me serious. I wanted to be the one that everybody felt they could come to pour into. To pour into. But with me not having any boundaries, I ended up enduring a lot of people who only wanted to take my kindness for granted. I encountered a lot of people who wanted to manipulate their presence in my life, pretty much trying to abuse their authority or their position that they thought they had. And as we awaken to this, it kind of hardens us. It makes us defensive. We're looking out for the next abusive relationship we're going to have to come across. We encounter people and we never fully trust them because we've never gotten over the things that have happened in our traumatic past, maybe childhood, maybe recent years. I'm sure we can all relate to that statement, huh? Raise your hand. So imagine taking on that persona of I need to be defensive, I need to be on guard, I need to keep my walls up 24/7. I don't need to look at my emotions, I don't need to look at the things that I really do not want to face. That hurt is not going anywhere, that hurt is staying. So now as the people that are hurt, we ignore that hurt, but in the end it always ends up making us hurt others. And further along in my journey, I started to witness the ripple effects. The domino effect, if you will. Ripple, domino, they go together, I don't care. I noticed after witnessing certain things in my life, the way that my eyes were opened up to what was actually going on around me. People I thought I could trust, people that I gave my all to. I realized that they were taking whatever hurt they were experiencing out onto me, causing me deep hurt and victims of multiple betrayals. So once I kind of came out of that, I was still holding on to it because I'm still defensive. I'm on edge all of the time. I just went through this very traumatic thing where everybody tried to come up against me. So now I'm in this new city, starting fresh, having to navigate it on my own. Honey, imagine the overwhelming energy that comes from that. Honey, I'm on my tippy toes. I'm looking around. I'm trying to make sure I'm looking over my shoulder. You know, I wouldn't say I was paranoid, but I always felt that there was going to be some sort of negative interaction maybe every single day. I'm always waiting for the next piece of discrimination. I'm always waiting for the next piece of racism. I'm always waiting for whatever conflict is going to eventually come in my mind because I just escaped from this very traumatic environment, this very traumatic, drama, situation, whatever you would like to call it. I began to live my life waiting for the next person that was going to hurt me. And that is a crazy way to think. That is a crazy way to live. The more I came across certain interactions, the more I was learning about myself and actually observing my behavior and being able to step outside of myself and look at the way that I just reacted to that situation. I'm looking and I do not want my life to reflect that. I do not want to live my life in that stumbling energy. Always tense, always waiting to pounce, always waiting for the next person that's going to try to make me a victim. So now these solutions are starting to come into my mind. Now I'm kind of thinking okay, if I don't want to be that defensive person, always on edge, always waiting for the next bad thing to happen or the next conflict with the person, what is the opposite way to live? What is the opposite energy that I want to embody so my life feels a little bit more peaceful? Not a little, baby. Not a little, a lot. a lot. And that is really where journaling helped. It gave me space, it gave me room to really evaluate those situations where I wasn't pleased with how I reacted or how I responded. Maybe I felt I lost too much control. Maybe I felt like I stooped too low. I stooped as low as them, or a little bit lower, girl. Them going low and me taking it to the slums and the pits of hell. Girl, if it had not been, come on, if it had not been. So on top of journaling, spiritual content really helped me kind of awaken, giving me the answers that I was looking for on how to get out of that energy once I started to ask myself those questions. And the more I continued to focus my energy on healing that part of myself, the more I started to see my world gradually shift in a positive direction. I began to see the world without these big defensive goggles. I'm going throughout my days unfazed, present in the moment, excited about the opportunities to come, feeling a lot more peaceful, feeling a lot more tranquil, just not really worried about anything because I'm allowing the universe to take care of me and trusting that I am safe and I am protected. Trusting that the past is the past, the present is the present, and the future is the future. They don't need to intermingle. Now, of course, baby, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. But once you address the real deep-seated issues that are actually contributing to your anger, you find that you're in less conflict, even if it happens to show up on your path. You may encounter rude people, you may encounter people who have an attitude, people who are having a miserable day and want yours to be as miserable. You find yourself somehow so unfazed, so peaceful, so unbothered, like you're able to just take it and move throughout your day without going back to that place with them, without contributing to the negative interaction that they want you to be a part of. Like, girl, skipping light on my feet, girl, going to my next destination, girl, just keep it to myself. Somebody has an attitude, I'm making somebody uncomfortable, somebody feels some kind of way, that is not my problem. It is not going to stop my day. It's not going to ruin anything that Elijah Joel Woods has going on over here. You get to a place where that peace is so strong that the things that used to upset you don't even make you flinch anymore. Y'all, when you are actually witnessing you becoming a better person, or you actually are healing internal patterns that contributed to your emotional chaos, you kind of just pat yourself on the back like, damn it, Elijah. Saving your energy, saving your time, looking towards the heavens, towards something brighter and better. The only way we're going to get to that place, though, you guys, of being peaceful even when the world around us is in chaos, is vulnerability. It's crazy, though, how hard it has become for us to really admit truths to ourselves. We're constantly running from it, which is why we're out here acting crazy, which is why we keep attracting these toxic relationships, these toxic interactions. We have to break that barrier, you guys. We have to break that barrier because it's keeping us from healing. Healing requires bravery. Healing requires courage to look at all of the deep, dark pain you're still enduring, or may have happened in the past, but those feelings have remained present. If you never look at the pain, baby, it's gonna always be there. You can look to the left, you can look to the right, you can look up, you can look down. You can look every which way to try to get you from neglecting what actually needs to be solved. But until you admit the honest truth to yourself that you are actually hurt, that you're still heartbroken, that you don't like the way you were treated when you were a child, you don't like the way you were treated as a teenager, you don't like those bullies that were people that were actually supposed to love you and breathe life into you. But I completely understand, because being someone myself, having to look at these huge emotions that are rooted in most of my childhood, it's scary, it's painful, it's unfair. Like, how am I expected to get over the layers of betrayal that I endured from people that I trusted, people that I loved? It's so easy to keep that guard up because we don't want to cry. We feel like crying makes us weak. We don't want to be in sorrow or in sadness because we feel like that makes us weak. We feel like we need to put on a facade, put on a mask for the world because that's how we're going to get by, or that's how we're going to thrive and be successful. Once you finally let your guard down, though, and you start admitting it to yourself, you start addressing it, that is a breakthrough that most people don't accomplish. Girl, that's why you see people out here acting crazy, doing stuff to people that makes absolutely no sense, no morals, no integrity. These people are hurt. These people are in pain. And when pain and hurt and trauma goes unresolved, it spreads like wildfire, contaminating anybody who comes into contact with it. This is the space where surrender and vulnerability are able to coincide. The more vulnerable you are with your feelings and what you're experiencing in your life right now, the more potential for you to resolve them. You have to be broken down to make yourself whole again, especially at a time in your life where you're stepping more into your new life while still resolving those wounds and that trauma from your old life. Think about a math equation. First, you have to think, you have to solve, you have to add things, you have to do little stuff to try to get to the answer. But I feel like all of us, we want to skip doing the actual problem, but we just want the answer. Like, no, honey, you actually have to do the work. You just can't get an A+ by turning the other way thinking that the answer is going to magically show up. You have to be intentional about it. You actually have to use your brain. You have to think. You have to, put things together so that you can get to the solution. That requires looking within. That requires vulnerability. Now, not only are some of us afraid to be vulnerable, but many of us don't know how. Most of society, we have grown up in families or environments surrounded by toxic people who just sweep shit under the rug. We ignore the cries for help, we ignore that abusive situation, and it becomes this generational curse. We repeat it and become toxic just like the ones that hurt us. And that goes into having examples of what I don't want my life to look like. I don't want to move forward in my life and never address the things that are still hurting me. I need to be vulnerable because the more vulnerable I am, the more the world makes sense. I can see why I was treated poorly. I can see why I attracted that toxic relationship. I can see why I'm in this repetitive cycle of something that is actually contributing to my emotional instability. I can finally identify why certain areas of my life look the way that they do, all because I was honest and vulnerable with myself. Whoever inflicted your pain, whoever inflicted your suffering and caused you to be in this depressive, sad state that you're in, or those upset feelings that you may go through, just know that they were treated that way before you. So they treated you that way because that's all they know. Now that does not excuse it at all. It does not. Girl, I have to put that out there. It does not excuse it whatsoever. But if I'm being honest, you guys, it did give me a sense of peace in the midst of me trying to understand how they could have done me that way. I'm so adamant about my healing journey, you guys, because I can see the destruction that is being pushed upon our people, the chaos that so many of us are experiencing, even if it's not external. I hate that a lot of us cannot see it. I hate that a lot of us are not willing to look at the root of our true problem. Now, with all of that being said, I would like to ask a question and have somebody answer it for me. How is vulnerability a weakness if it is the very thing that is leading me away, or freeing me actually, from the shackles and burdens of my past pain? If the only way to get to a more healed and peaceful life is through the destruction and the uncomfortability that comes with re-experiencing that heartbreak and feeling the pain, it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make at this point. To go on this journey, you have to be bold, you have to be confident in yourself, you have to be authentic, because you're doing something different, so different that a lot of society doesn't understand it. It is terrifying when you're on a different path and you don't have a good example on what true success and healing looks like. But as I've grown up, I know what I have seen, and I understand now how I was iced out and treated poorly by those that were closest to me. They chose the path of keeping up that wall. They chose the path of not tapping into their vulnerable side. And that sort of surrender is the feminine energy that I am oftentimes speaking about. You can't always be in your masculine energy, honey. You can't always be the protector. You can't always be the builder. Sometimes you have to surrender to the universe, honey, and you have to receive. You have to feel your feelings. We're both feminine and masculine, honey. We have to tap into both of those sides, honey, because if we're too much in our masculine energy and the feminine goes unnoticed, honey, then we're all, imbalanced and our life looks like chaos and all this kind of stuff, honey, trying to give you the 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and the 4, and the 5. But me continuing to see people with those walls up, I'm able to respond better, I'm able to react better, and understand those people, they just don't have the bravery right now. They don't have the courage, they don't feel like they have the strength to truly admit why they are so unhappy. To the extent that they are now hurting innocent people, whether it be the ones closest to them, whether it be people that they just come across, whether it be strangers. Honey, it stretches far and it stretches wide. The thing that I kind of had to ask myself when I was starting to realize all of this, when I was starting my journey of being more vulnerable, of not being afraid of my tears, of not being afraid of the darkness and the pain that I still felt, I asked myself, if running from the pain is only masking it, why not take advice from that spiritual quote that I saw earlier on Instagram? Why not take advice from that spiritual movie or video that I tapped into, that I watched, that kind of awakened me and opened my eyes? Why not face it? Why not address it? Why not take a chance and see how it goes? You can't go into this journey, you guys, closed-minded. You have to be open and willing to learn, be open and willing to learn different concepts, different perspectives that are going to directly conflict with your beliefs and your ideals that have always been upheld. And because I chose to be optimistic and hopeful, I took a chance on something that has now made me feel more relieved and more free, more unburdened. Because honestly, what do we have to lose? What do you have to lose by trying something new? What do you have to lose by watching a video that maybe expands your consciousness and opens up your mind? What do you have to lose by just trying to read a book? I had to be real with myself. Like, what do you have to lose, Elijah, by doing something different? You know everything that you've always done, what's in your comfort zone, what's familiar to you, and you know that that's exactly what the people that you've just left are still doing. So maybe there's nothing about this path that is actually a problem. It's just most people aren't willing to walk on it. Maybe a lot of people are just afraid to go that direction because they don't know where that direction is going to lead them, because we don't have a lot of good examples of people who went that direction and came out on top. Why stay in that comfortable bubble where our life repeats the same cycles, the same hurt that consumes us so much that we eventually become the same ones who inflict it? And to specify a little bit, when I say cycles and hurt and pain and experiencing those same things, it's like, okay, I'm experiencing the same sort of relationship that broke my heart the first time, because I still haven't healed my broken heart from the last last relationship. Make sense? I'm still neglecting that self-care, that self-love that I so desperately need, that I'm continuing to find myself in situations where I'm devalued. And then the dagger pokes you a little bit deeper every single time it comes back. You start to actually believe that this is your life, you're cursed somehow. This is always how it's going to be. I can't do anything to change it. I'm always going to be stuck here getting hurt by the same people, getting hurt by the same relationships, so I don't trust nobody, so now I'm gonna hurt everybody else too because I don't trust that anybody is ever gonna treat me well. Realizing all of this, I realized that is a dark hole that I do not want to fall into, which is why I'm so happy that I started changing things and doing things differently, and stopping those cycles now while I'm young, before they could get worse and permeate the universe as I got older. And honey, I've seen what that looks like. I've seen what that does to people. Not a pretty sight whatsoever. For my girlies that are on their spiritual journeys, my girlies that are trying to tap into their spirituality, trying to heal, trying to get to a better place of internal peace and happiness so that their external world can reflect all of those positive emotions. If you don't have an example on what healing looks like, on what getting to that place looks like, look at the opposing side of how you were treated. What is the opposite of that, and how can I embody it now so that I don't repeat the cycle, passing it down to my children, passing it down to a loved one? Vulnerability is super, super uncomfortable, honey. It is not pretty at all. It gets ugly, but that discomfort is only temporary. Yes, it comes in waves. Every day is not going to be a great one, but eventually it leads you to those core truths and those deep answers that you have always longed for. When you close those old cycles, those old chapters, then you are free from that mental, spiritual, and emotional struggle. And you start to realize all of those nights of you crying, all of those nights of you in pain, has actually made you stronger, has actually helped you build character, has actually helped you build the momentum, and awakened you to strength and power you didn't know existed. Because for me, I just look back at everything that I've been through, and the fact that I'm still here, and I'm still pushing, the fact that I'm still going, the fact that I'm still creating, the fact that I'm still finding things to be happy about, joy in my heart, in my soul, the fact that I'm still feeling so much positive energy after being through so much destruction, after being through the worst of the worst kinds of abuse that you could ever imagine since a childhood, since a teenager, since a young adult, whether it be physical or emotional. I admitted how all of those experiences made me feel, therefore opening my eyes up to the fact that I can overcome it, that I did overcome it, and that I'm still standing today. So recognizing vulnerability as my superpower, honey, was the true life-changing revelation that exposed me to my divine identity. Well, that is going to wrap up episode 7 of the Cozy Convos podcast. I hope my girlies enjoyed. I hope you guys took some of these nuggets of wisdom. I hope you were able to relate. I hope you were able to resonate and apply to your own life. I would love to hear from you guys. Any comments, any questions, any concerns, honey. I love interacting with you guys. It truly brightens my day. And this is a safe space, honey. I want you all to be able to feel like you can communicate and we're all going to be a community of positive energy together, honey. This is not the side of the internet where we're judging everybody, where we're creating walls and putting guards up. No, honey, we are embracing us broken, healed, and whole. But okay, girl, I'm just rambling at this point. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I was so excited about this topic. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next episode of the Cozy Convos podcast. Okay, kisses, hugs, and many blessings. Mwah.